Hello A-level students, welcome to another video in the, some would say, optimistically entitled Paris in 5 Minutes series from Excel at English. In this video we will be looking at another text from the AQA Language and Literature Paris Anthology for your revision purposes, and on this occasion the text will be Mile by Mile, London to Paris by Pigott and Thompson. In summary, this text explores the connection between London and Paris through the rail connection between the two cities, and in the extract provided, the authors are describing the development of the iconic Gare du Nord, which is the Station of the North. The accompanying maps in the extract are recreations in the style of an original 1940s guidebook, which compares old and new routes by rail into the city. With regard to the context of this text, this is a written mode text that has accompanying maps and detailed captions, so it's a somewhat multimodal text in that there is some visual communication, or at least diagrammatic mode going with the written language. It belongs to the genre of non-fiction. It is an example of popular history, specifically the history of travel, and cartography is also a text genre, and that of course is the production of maps. The purpose of the text is informational. It's giving accurate historical information and description of travel, but really we should add to that the secondary purpose is to entertain, because people are going to read this text for fun. Who is going to read this text for fun? Train spotters will read this text for fun. Perhaps more formally we could describe them as railway enthusiasts, and you may be forming a picture in your mind of someone who finds rail travel interesting, who is probably male and middle-aged, a bit like me. With regard to subjects, the subjects are travel, transport, architecture and history, all things that of course are highly interesting to middle-aged males. With regard to representations within this text, the text is presenting the Gare du Nord as a significant location with a really interesting and varied past. It also represents Paris as an impressive destination that brings people from all over Europe and that is a kind of attractive cultural centre. Rail travel is represented as sophisticated and enriching mode of transport, particularly one with a very rich and nostalgic history. There are modern and historical journeys represented, which is an attempt, I suppose, to present a connection between passengers through time, and lovers of the history genre always love to imagine the similarities between themselves and people at different points in histories. The authors are self-representing in the text, and they are representing both themselves and, I suppose, their readers as knowledgeable, passionate and enthusiastic about rail travel. And so the linguistic features in this text. With regard to the lexis and semantics, there are some special, almost jargonistic architectural lexis, words like a facade, triumphal arch, I didn't know what it was, I had to look it up, frontage, which is fairly self-explanatory. These are specialist architectural terms that help to convey specialist knowledge. Whilst there is other descriptive lexis which is used to present this significance of Paris, such as ultimate and pomp and grandeur. Rhetorical flourishes and idioms are maintaining a high register in this text, and this text does have a fairly literary register. An example would be rhetorical features such as anadiplosis, which is ending and beginning subsequent constructions with the same feature, often found in poetic, literary, or quite frequently advertising texts as well. It is also a gateway not only to the city, etc. We also have idiomatic language such as more than just a station, which also, I have to say, sounds quite like a sales register, but it's adding some drama and some impact to the description. Similarly, there are collocations which are making the register more accessible and familiar. Ideas such as far-flung, major overhaul, ultimate destination. These are collocates. These are words that are often situated together or predictably found together. When we look at the captions and the maps, actually the descriptive language there combines with a creative or a shift in grammar to help try and evoke the experience of rail travel, making that a really interesting section of the text to look at. It switches to an inclusive perspective and using the present tense, which is an attempt to evoke an immediate shared experience and perhaps a way of mimicking the perspective of a tour guide or train announcer who would be, I suppose, narrating the things that are seen as the journey progresses. This present tense description of the old railway line also shifts into the conditional past and the past perfect with would and had as a way of presenting or bringing to life this imagined past experience. Elsewhere within the discourse there are cultural references which are establishing a sense of Paris's unique sophistication and presenting Paris as a cosmopolitan destination. We have French borrowings such as pastis, and apéritif, and focuses on the galleries, the museums, and these are examples of proper nouns identifying famous Parisian films, also featured in the text. So overall, with regards to connections, you could connect this text to other texts that represent transport, the Eurostar advert, or representations of historical Paris, such as the Seven Ages of Paris. Texts that feature contrasting modes, but also feature similar representations of train travel, would include Sophia's spoken personal recount. There are other guide formats which use language in similar ways, sometimes in different modes. One would be Rick Steves' audio recording of his tour of the Louvre, which also features maps and directions. So, coming in at just about 7 minutes, that was Paris in 5 and a bit more minutes from Excel at English. Thank you for your focus. Please feel free to click the like button if you found this worthwhile, or subscribe and drop a comment. That's about all I have to say to you. Good luck with your studies.